goes a sight from my soul.
Alright, so today we are working on a 2007 Nissan Sentra. Customer's complaint is the noise and the vibration while driving. I can't imagine why, judging by the way that subframe looks. But we are going to change that subframe out and we're going to solve the customer's problem. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Hakeem with AutoFix Pal.
There goes a sight, there goes a sight. There goes a sight from my soul. I think it's all angels just walk by. 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 There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight. There goes a sight, there goes a sight.
Alright, notice how I have my hand in front of the ball as I spin it out with the impact gun. That's because sometimes these subframes will get a lot of rust, and sometimes some slimy black stuff will build up in here, and that stuff will go slinging all over the place when you spin it out with the impact gun. So I put my hand in front of it just in case that situation happens. I don't get any of that stuff in my face, and it doesn't get all over the shop, because that's some really nasty slimy stuff and it's just hard to clean up. So it's always a good idea to make sure that you have your eyes and your face protected when you're spinning those bolts out, because you never know what's going to come down with those bolts when you spin it out. Alright, the bracket that you see me holding up right now is the subframe bracket. It's in the back of the subframe. There's two rubber bushings in the back of it. On the underside of it, make sure that they go back in the same spot when you take it apart. So pay attention when you drop that subframe bracket down, because the bushings may slide out, they may stay in place. If they stay in place, that's great, just put it back up the way you got it. If they fall off, make sure you put them back on and then put it back together before you send the car out the door with the bushings missing, because they may make some noises later on down the road and you don't want that.
Well, now.
Now I'm the king of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I've reached the top.
Alright, so there are two bolts that hold that power steering rack to the subframe, and they are held together with a 21mm nut at the top. That is the nut on the right side, and that is the left side, which is the driver's side, 21mm. So what you're going to need to take those nuts off is a long breaker bar, preferably flex head breaker bar, because I don't know if you can get in there with a straight breaker bar. And you crack those nuts loose, get them loose to the point where you can take them out easily with an air ratchet or an electric ratchet or something like that. And then you'll run them all the way out with the electric ratchet or the air ratchet. Or you can take them all the way out by hand if you want, using a breaker bar. It's your choice, but it's easier to do it with an electric ratchet or an air ratchet and just run them all the way out. And once you crack them loose, there's not too much tension on them, so you know, electric ratchet will be able to do it, and you'll see me taking them out with an electric ratchet in the video. And once you've got those nuts out, the bolts at the bottom, you should be able to pull them out through the bottom of the subframe pretty easily. Alright, so let's continue.
It's blue.
We're going to use that 18mm on that Milwaukee impact wrench to remove the last of the lower torque rod bolts. You can't really see it because it's out of the frame, sorry about that. But it's out of the car and we can remove the subframe now, so let's do it. Once you start lowering the subframe down, pay attention to the location of the sway bar. It tends to get stuck on the power steering rack. And you can either remove the sway bar right now, because it's pretty easy to get to the top bolts, or you can just, make sure you pay attention to the sway bar and unwrap it from the power steering rack and then continue to drop your subframe down. So whichever way you choose will work. I chose to just unwrap it from the power steering rack and then, take it off once I got it on the floor. So it's your choice. Let's proceed.
Get to making with jive, boy. Say shout. When it hits you, yes, indeed, yes, yes, you shout. When it hits you, yes, indeed, yes, yes. When it hits you, yes, indeed, yes, yes, you shout. When it hits you, yes, indeed, yes, indeed, yes, you holler, yes,
1, 2, 3.
before you bolt the subframe completely up to the body of the car, you may want to put your control arms in first, because if you put your control arms in now, you'll be able to put the bolts in for the control arms that bolt the control arms to the subframe a lot easier. When the control arm is up, when the subframe is completely bolted to the car, you'll have to fight the tension of the bushings inside the control arms, and you don't want to do that because it's a lot more difficult. If you have the subframe halfway down, the control arms will line up almost perfectly with the subframe. So put the control arms in now before you bolt the subframe all the way up to the car. Drop the subframe down a little bit if you already got it really close to the car. Just make sure that you can get the control arms in pretty easily, like you see me doing right there in the video. Alright, so that's just a quick tip. Now back to the music. Alright, so the next thing you're going to do is put that bolt through the power steering rack. That bolt goes to the subframe. You can see me putting it in right now. Make sure you get it into the center of that hole, because if you miss the hole, you'll probably misalign the power steering rack and you'll create a dangerous situation for the customer. So get that bolt through the center of the power steering rack's bracket, bolt it down tight, send the car out the door. Well, after you're done, don't send it out the door right there without bolting it down and tightening it up. Alright, so that's it. Yeah, let's go. Back to the music. Alright, I can't say that this is true for every other manufacturer, but on Nissans, the rear section of the subframe is designed to be self-aligning with the body of the car, so it's best to tighten the rear subframe bolts before tightening the front subframe bolts. This will ensure that the subframe is aligned with the body of the car properly, and you shouldn't have any alignment issues afterwards.